I've seen hundreds of clients the last 10 years, and almost all of them have come to me not doing these things. Most of them are wasting months or even years of their time with the habits they were trying to implement before making these changes. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what those things are, how you can apply them, and how you can finally have pounds falling off the scale. So we're going to get into this Figma board here. First, with the 5 daily tasks, this is the whole system. We are going to be focusing on what is the root cause of this. It's a 1,000 calorie deficit that is going to lead to 2 extra pounds being lost per week. So first, you're going to want to start by figuring out your daily caloric need, which starts the TDEE calculator. And so that's going to be right here. So I'm going to bring this up for you to hopefully, if I can click it, there we go. Okay, so on this TDEE calculator, you're going to fill out your information, gender, age, weight, all that stuff. And then it's going to spit out a number that you can just get started on when it comes to your daily energy that you're going to be taking in terms of calories. So one thing I wanted to bring up is that the activity section right here is almost always, I find, overestimated. So pick whatever you think you are. It says light exercise 1 to 2 days per week. I think what this means, instead of the exercise is light, if you go to the gym and you just walk, you're like, oh, I lightly exercise 1 to 2. I walk around the neighborhood 6 days a week. Don't pick heavy exercise. What they mean by light exercise is you only exercise moderately or more or intensely 1 to 2 days a week. That's considered light exercise. So I would just pick whatever you feel and then go one down. We're going to talk about adjustments, and that is where you're really going to, this doesn't matter. This is just going to give you a starting point. Okay, so now that you've looked at your TDEE calculator, the next step is to do your daily activity, usually being overestimated. I talked about that briefly, but you're going to go one down. And then the next step is going to be this pie chart here. So your BMR, your exercise, your NEAT, and your thermogenic effective food, or TEF. We're going to talk about those. So this is just for illustration purposes. If you look up different sources of information are going to have different, exact percentages. This is basically what makes up your daily caloric burn. So your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, that's just the amount of calories you're going to burn just existing. That's, processes like growing your hair and digesting food and all things like that. That is going to be 50% roughly of your daily needs. That means that the more muscle that you have and your genetics are going to strongly dictate half of what you burn throughout the day. And so you might feel like you have bad genetics or low muscle mass. We're going to get there. And if it is genetics, don't worry about it. I promise it's not going to end up being an issue. But BMR, that's 50% of what you burn. The next biggest thing is going to be your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So the main source of NEAT is going to be your steps, your daily steps. We are going to talk a whole lot more about daily steps. But that's also things like fidgeting and just, things we don't even realize we're doing that are going to lead to your 25% of your calorie burn. Then is going to be, these are kind of like interchangeable almost. You almost could, different sources are going to say different things. But exercise, the more fit you get, the bigger this is going to become. So it might turn into 17, 18, 19, 20% of your daily caloric needs, because if you're fit and you can go further and you can go faster, let's just take a person who's brand new to all this and they're riding a bike. Let's say they can only ride a mile at first, but now that they're more fit, they can ride, 10 miles. And then because they can ride 10 miles and they're more fit, they can do it again the next day. Whereas the 1 mile would hurt them so much they couldn't do that for, days after. So you can burn a whole lot more calories by getting more fit. And we're going to, again, talk about this more coming up. So that's your exercise. As you exercise, you're going to be, as you gain more muscle, you're going to be burning more calories, all this stuff. It all goes into exercise, and the extra muscle goes into the BMR. And we're going to, again, talk more about that. So thermogenic effective food is going to be the amount of calories it takes to process or to digest the calories that you're taking in. So protein is the main source of increasing TEF. The more protein you eat, out of every 100 calories that you eat, you only get to keep about 70 of them, 75 of them, something like that. So protein burns a whole lot of calories just simply consuming it. Whereas fat, you get to keep most of them and use them for energy. And if you don't use them for energy, then they get stored as fat pretty readily. So that is the basis of what we're going to be talking about. Is 1,000 calorie deficit is what we're going to want. So let's get into the tasks. So first is going to be reducing your calories by 500. And this is mainly going to be done through food logging. We're going to talk more about high protein stuff a little bit later, but I'm going to also include it here. So reducing your calories by 500. First is going to be food logging. The app that I recommend is going to be MyFitnessPal just because their database is the largest. But I think there's some databases catching up to that. What is that new one? Lose It. And there might not even be that new. But Lose It is at least up and coming. They're pretty, it seems like their database is pretty solid. And Fitbit also has a pretty good one. I think that you can, you could use those. You can use anything you want. You can even use pen and paper, but logging your food is going to be so important. I promise you, even if you only do it for like 2 weeks, it's going to really help you understand exactly what you're taking in. And then we can make adjustments, and we are going to be, this adjust based off results is going to be pretty key to this whole thing. It's really kind of the heart and soul of all of this coming up. So adjust based off results. We're going to talk about that in a second, but high protein, when you're food logging, you'll be able to log, of course, it'll naturally come with it, your macros. I've heard people talk about like tracking calories versus tracking macros. It's the exact same thing. If you track macros, you're going to be tracking calories. If you're tracking calories, if you're not, I mean, I guess on a pen and paper, if you were just simply tracking the calories, that's a way of tracking calories without tracking macros. But if you do any app, it's going to track your macros as well. So trying to get your protein up is going to help the thermogenic effect of food. And I just wanted to throw that in there as like, you're going to be able to track that at the same time. 2 birds, 1 stone. And then there's going to be recipes. Now, I just came out with a recipe book. It is completely free. Most people sell these things, and I don't see why, because I think it is very empowering to have a person making delicious, high volume, high protein food that is going to be lower in calories. It's going to help you stick with your diet. So if you want that, sign up to my email list, link in the description. It's for a fat loss challenge is what's going to be down there. But every week that I have the new recipes, I'm going to email my list and say, hey, these are the recipes I added. Check out the recipe book. And so you're going to get it, the very next Monday or whatever that you sign up for this, whatever day it is, day of the week it is. So recipes are going to be key because as you're dieting, as you're trying to food log and keep track of your food and everything, and my recipe book, by the way, gives you exact grams. So you can log all of these things in MyFitnessPal. It's very easy. But recipes are going to be what keep you on your diet because eating chicken and broccoli and rice just is only going to take you so far. Eating a bunch of vegetables you don't really want to eat is eventually you're going to get sick of that. So you have to have ways of eating those vegetables. You have to have ways of eating higher protein that taste good. Eating lasagna, eating pizza, eating all these things is possible. Eating ice cream. It is possible to eat those things and it still be a part of your diet. It's also possible, kind of going away from recipes, to actually just go out and eat those things. Let's say you have like an anniversary and you want a piece of cheesecake, not a protein cheesecake. You want actual just cheesecake. You can log that. You might be over in your calories that day, but it's we're not going to be perfect all the time, but logging it is a way of knowing, oh, I'm within my calories or I'm at least close and I can just move on from this without the guilt associated with, oh my gosh, I ate cheesecake. I'm just using that as an example. You can, fill in the blank. But the second part of this first task, which is going to be food logging, is going to be adjust based off. If you want to lose 12 pounds in your first month, I'm going to give you all of 5 habits that I run all of my clients through. They really love it. It's totally free. So what do you got to lose? You can download it right here or the link in the description. Results. So let's go over here. We're going to reference this a few times. Why is that waving at me? That's weird. Is that a sticker? I don't know. I don't know what that was. That was very strange. So adjust based off of results. So if you see that the graph is flat, this is what a flat graph, kind of over here, it's starting to tail actually, I accidentally did that. But this is what a flat graph will look like. It's up and down. Don't let the up make you think, oh my gosh, the world's ending. Don't let the downs make you think, like right here in particular, think that, you need to establish a pattern. That is what is so important. So if this is flat, then we're going to change these dials. We're going to get to that in a second. If it's going down, like this, up and down, again, don't let something up be like, if a person judged their entire progress from here to here, they might think, oh my gosh, weight loss is so slow, but look at this weight loss. This is a lot faster. That's why it's important to log your weight and you adjust, make based off of those things. So from here, specifically in regards to reducing your calories and food logging, you're going to be looking at calories. So I call this my dial system. We're going to talk more about the dials, but you're going to be looking at dialing down the calories a little bit. Now, once this all comes together, this is going to make a lot more sense. But for now, we're just going to focus on calories. If you were eating, let's say it spit out 1,600 or 1,800. And so you're like, okay, so Aaron said to go down a little bit or whatever. And so I did my activity and it spit out 1,700 instead, whatever, I don't know. And you eat 1,700 calories and you see that your graph is flat, then good news, we only have to go down by like 200 calories and you should start seeing at least a little bit of results. And then we're going to constantly be making these adjustments. If the graph is going down, though, you don't dial anything down. My dial system, you don't change any of the dials. You just keep it, even if it feels slow, and you can adjust them a little bit. We're going to talk more about that later. So task 2, and the 5th task, by the way, is down there. But task 2 is to increase your steps. So start by just simply tracking your steps. I have a pedometer here from Amazon it's a Neskla 3D pedometer. These things, I find that, my phone's good. I just don't have it in my pocket all the time. The phones are pretty accurate. I find that watches, just even the nicer ones, I mean, maybe the Apple Watch, I don't have one, but even the nicer ones just don't seem super accurate. It doesn't matter really, as long as you keep it on your wrist and you're consistent with it, but especially the super cheap trackers. Now, this thing is cheap, but it's specifically made for pedometer, tracking steps. But the super cheap watches that are like, $30 on Amazon, I find that they track all of your wrist movements, and they're just not consistent enough to, count those as steps. If you consistently moved your wrist 5,000 times a day, then it wouldn't really matter what the number was. We would just increase it, through steps. But anyways, I would get that pedometer. It's super cheap. Like 2 of them are $20 or maybe $15, something. And it is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. I go for like 14,000 steps a day. But anyways, we'll get to the steps you should do. So you start by tracking. Once you have your number confirmed, that's confirming this base here. Let's say your base is like 5,000 steps a day. Increase it by 1,000. That would be my first thing. I would try to get 6,000 steps a day. No matter what, I'm going to get 6,000 steps a day. Even if I have to sit there and watch something on TV and march in place, I'm going to get 6,000 steps a day. That's how I would start it out. And then you increase it by 1,000 every week until it's not possible. You will find, and you have to be honest with yourself, where does it become not possible? Let's say 8 weeks in, you have increased your steps by 8,000. In the first example I gave, what would that be? 13,000. And you're like, I cannot reach 13,000. I can reach 12 most days. Then you have found your maximum amount that you can do that, doesn't impact your life too much. Now, coming over here to the weight loss graphs again, let's say that you are flat. And right now we're going to bring all the dials together, but let's say you're flat here, and then you are going down on this graph. If you're flat, then you would just simply increase your steps by a little bit, right? You would, I know we found your maximum, but it would be, okay, I need to increase my steps by a little bit. And again, that's where all the dials come into play, and we're going to talk about that at the end. But if you're going down, you leave your steps where they're at. Now, if you feel like ultimately this isn't sustainable, I can reach 12,000, but not, then, you might have to dial them back a little bit. But that is how you adjust steps based off of those weight loss graphs. Oh, and I should address, why is there not a graph that's going up? I have never seen, and if this is you, don't be discouraged. I think it could almost be encouraging, because there could actually be something wrong. You'd need to go to a doctor, and maybe it isn't your fault, at least 100% of it. But I've never seen a person going up in weight when they're actually giving effort. I've never seen that. If a person is logging their food, or they're attempting to eat better, they don't have to be logging. If they're just attempting to eat better, they usually will at least be staying flat. And that's because by eating better, they're accidentally moving less, and that's part of the dial system as well that we're going to talk about. But anyways, I keep saying we're going to talk about it, but this whole system kind of has to come together. So task 3, increase protein and muscle. So muscle is going to be the long-term play. You're going to be lifting weights. I would lift weights definitely 2 to 3 times a week, total body. That is going to be your long-term solution to increasing your total daily need over here, because your BMR will go up because you have more muscle. Muscle is a very inefficient tissue, meaning it burns through calories a whole lot. If we started starving, food was limited, the first people that would die is the bodybuilders and the muscle heads, because they have so much inefficient tissue. It's not a good thing whenever energy is low or food sources are low to have that much inefficient tissue. But since we have plenty of food, we want more muscle. So that is basal metabolic rate. And as you eat more protein and stuff, which is kind of closely tied with that, your thermogenic effect of food is going to go up as well. So eating more protein is going to help you keep more muscle. So it kind of like doubles up, if you will. But talking about just muscle, your basal metabolic rate is going to go up. Plus, as you lift more, let's say you used to do 15 pounds in the 15-pound dumbbells, and now you're using 20-pound dumbbells. It takes more energy to lift 20s than it does with 15s, and you have more muscle that needs to lift it, and so it takes more energy. So it's a pretty cool snowball effect. And then protein equals a shorter term solution. So if we go over here to the dials again, or to the graphs again, If you are flat, one dial that you could change is just increasing your protein a little bit. You keep your calories the same, but you increase your protein a little bit. That's going to increase calorie burn. It's also going to, because of the thermogenic effect of food, it's also going to increase your muscle over time. And so therefore your basal metabolic rate is going to go up. So all this is now starting to come together. If you're going down, again, you don't change anything. You just keep it the same. Task 4 is going to be your cardio. So it's going to be increasing your cardio. So this is, contrary to popular belief, it is best for weight loss. You are going to burn more in an hour of cardio, steady state cardio, than you will ever burn lifting weights. You could have the hardest leg day of your life. You might burn 200 calories. Maybe. I highly doubt it. With an hour of steady state cardio, you're going to burn, easily 300, 400, 500 if you get in shape enough. You could be, the strongest person out there. You're still not going to burn many calories doing a leg day. Because although it takes a lot of effort, there's not a whole lot of movement that's happening. Number 2, I would want you getting to the point of doing daily cardio. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to do like intentional, like formal cardio, like on the treadmill or Stairmaster, like we're going to talk about. It could just be, some days, let's say 3 days a week, is just a walk, and achieving a higher number of steps. But then the other 4 days a week is actual cardio. So let's talk about that actual cardio. So you were going to be doing, this is how I would have it if you were my client, the treadmill or the Stairmaster. The reason that these two pieces of cardio are the most influential, I guess, or the most, they move the needle the most on fat loss, is because if you were on a bike, let's take an elliptical. A lot of people like the elliptical. An elliptical's fine. It is a total body thing. I do think it burns good calories. So if you love that, go ahead and do it. But I would prefer a person using treadmill or Stairmaster. So let's take the elliptical. Let's say you start off at a level 1 and you're out of shape and you're doing it and you get better at it. So you go to level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. Eventually you might be at level 8 or something like that. And you didn't realize it, but your RPMs, the revolutions per minute, have slowed down because level 8 is harder. And so now you're accidentally moving slower. So unless you're keeping an eye on those RPMs 24/7, which is maddening, I've tried to do it, then you might accidentally be making up for something in response to something else getting harder. Whereas on the treadmill or the Stairmaster, they have, if you pick, level 3 or 3 miles an hour, you have to go 3 miles an hour. You're going to fall off. So if you increase the incline without holding onto the handrails, or at least not tugging on the handrails, as you increase the incline, it gets harder. But if you no longer can walk 3 miles an hour, like on the elliptical, you accidentally start slowing down. So if you accidentally start slowing down, you will fall off the treadmill. So you have to walk that speed. And it'll at least show you if you're not ready for that incline yet because you can't keep up with the treadmill. So let's say you're walking at 1% incline because you're out of shape. And eventually you're at 10% incline. You're doing the same 30 minutes every single day. You're doing the same 3 miles an hour, but now you're walking 10% incline. Obviously, you're working harder than you used to and therefore burning more calories. And again, let's say you also had more muscle and you're also eating more protein. The dials are really starting to come together. And I'm going to show you how this all is going to work for you so much. But the treadmill or Stairmaster is going to be your best friend. The Stairmaster obviously has a fixed incline, like you can't change it. It's just the same. But as you increase the speed, you again have to keep up with that speed or you're going to fall off. So it obviously is showing that you're in better shape, able to burn more calories. So the fourth part of this cardio is how long should you do this? I would pick a time, let's say 30 minutes, just pick it. It doesn't matter. It could be 15 minutes. You're going to increase. I'm going to kind of give you the hierarchy. In fact, I should have put that on here. Can I do that now? Yeah. All right. So you're going to increase. This is going to be your hierarchy. So first is going to be time. So let's say you start off with 30 minutes, let's say you start off with 15 minutes. And then the first thing I'd want you to do is go to 20 minutes. And then actually first, probably going to be days per week. So I would like you to get to like 5 to 7 days per week. And you might be like, oh my gosh, so much. Well, I mean, if you struggle with weight loss, maybe you've needed to hear that. It does. It takes a lot. But I would make it a priority for yourself. What are you doing that's taking away from the time? I don't want to get down that rabbit hole because I know it's super cliche, but I would get up to 5 to 7 days per week. Then I would work on your time. So 5 to 7 days a week of 15 minutes. That's what I would first build up to, or whatever, pick a time. Doesn't matter. And if you're anything below 30, the next thing in the hierarchy is trying to get up to 30 minutes. So, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and 30 minutes. Once you're at 30 minutes every single day, then I would start working on, if you're on let's just take the treadmill, then I would start working on speed, getting that up to like 3 miles an hour at least. And then would be incline. It's locked right now. There we go. Then would be the incline. And I would, work on that all the way up to 15%. Now, I totally could see, I guess, the first thing that you might want to work on is up to like 10%. And then I might go back to this time and start working on 45 minutes and then eventually an hour. And that would be the hierarchy. And then once, you're at an hour, then you could work up to 15. Now, you never have to reach all of this. I probably should have said that earlier. You're probably freaking out by now. You don't have to do 60 minutes, 7 days a week at a 15% incline, 3 miles an hour. That would be crazy. I'm just saying, like, these are, the hierarchy of how you could work on improving that. You always want to be improving that. You're going to be burning more calories if you do. So, how long? I would work up to at least 30 minutes a day, up to an hour, let's say 4 days a week or whatever. Pick something, go with it. Try to improve on one of those aspects. And then treadmill every day. I would do, treadmill every day. Or you could do the Stairmaster, but you also could do on like 2 to 3 days a week, just a walk around the neighborhood. I have to do that because it causes too much foot pain for me, just due to some other issues I have that are kind of unrelated to this. So I can't walk on an incline treadmill every single day of the week. I have to give a rest day between each day. So I walk anywhere from 3 to 4 times on the treadmill per week, and then the rest are just flat walks, either on the treadmill, a track, or outside. So anyways, going from the cardio, following that line over here, it just goes back up to this cardio dial. So now let's put the dials together before going to step 5. This is where, if you're still here, congratulations. This is it. This is what it all built to. So I should have put these in as circles. Why didn't I do that? There's a circle option right there. Dials, I kind of envision it as like a dial that you're dialing up or dialing down. So let's say that your weight loss graph, this is probably most people's situation. They feel frustrated because their weight loss graph is flat. And they're like, oh, I started doing more cardio and I'm not losing any weight. And then I stopped doing cardio. Well, we won't get into that. I'm not losing any weight. What's going on? This doesn't make any sense. I'm eating better. Let's just take this. This is the most common one. I'm eating better, but I'm just not losing any weight. I don't get it. So screw it. I'm going to start eating pizza again. Don't blame me. I don't blame you for being frustrated. But a lot of times what happens is a person will reduce their calories and accidentally way reduce their steps. Or their calories are being tracked wrong. That's a huge one as well. But they'll accidentally reduce their steps. And they never really had a lot of protein. They never really had a lot of muscle to begin with. So their basal metabolic rate is low. And since they're not doing any cardio, there's no way of measuring, am I getting better? Like, are my steps, faster? How am I improving here? So whenever you put all of these together, what's really cool is you don't have to suffer in any direction a whole lot. So let's say a person isn't getting any results and they just drop their calories by 500. That's going to cause them to suffer. Eventually they're going to quit because that's just too big of a drop. And I'm not even saying it's too big of a drop all at once. I'm saying that's too big of a drop. If you only diet your way down, you're just going to end up suffering too much. And that's why people quit. So what I would do is I would dial the steps up a little bit. Remember how we found where your base steps were when we were adding 1,000 calories or 1,000 steps a week? Let's say you max out at 9,000. I would just do like 9,300 steps a day. I know that sounds ridiculous. Maybe 9,500. Just call it 9,500. Try to really get those extra 500 steps. It's not going to make a big difference, but let's combine it with a little bit more cardio. Add 5 minutes of cardio every day. That'll probably get you 500 steps every day as well. So add a little bit more cardio, and the 5 minutes of cardio could be on the 4 days a week. And so that's an extra 20 minutes of cardio right there. Again, that's not going to be a huge change, but now we combined it with more steps. And then let's say you lower your calories by 200. It's not a huge, decrease. That's about a snack. So you're reducing by a snack a day. It's not horrible. We're eating less, but we're not eating like a whole meal and snack less per day, So now, again, this is really starting to add up. And then let's say you take your protein from 180 grams, you take it up to 200 grams a day. 1 gram per pound of body weight is, I should have brought that up back there, is roughly what I would recommend for protein. So let's say you take that down to, let's say you take that up to 200 grams per day. Now you're getting extra calorie burn from 20 extra grams of protein, but you're also hopefully retaining or maybe even adding more muscle. And so you're getting stronger, and now you're lifting more. And now that you're lifting more, you're burning more calories. And now that you have more muscle, you're burning more calories, your basal metabolic rate's going up. And then it comes all the way back to this pie chart, where this is no longer, you're not trying to get let's go with exercise. You're not trying to get your exercise up to 20%. You're trying to keep your exercise at 15% because everything's getting bigger. You have more muscle, and so now your basal metabolic rate is bigger. You're eating more protein, so now your TEF is bigger. You're exercising, you're increase the incline in your treadmill, so now your exercise is bigger. And you're taking more steps, so now your NEAT is bigger. So now the NEAT doesn't go to 30%. It's still 25%. Your whole darn pie is just bigger. And so the pie, in this case, no pun intended, no relation with calories intended, is your calorie burn. Your calorie burn is just big. So now let's take this down to the last thing, the most cliche one. Please hang around with me though. If you are still here, this is so important. Being patient and being consistent. This is your daily task, is to remind yourself. I literally write a sticky note that says this or something motivating and put it everywhere. Being patient, being consistent will trump all of this. It is the most important. I promise, if you are working on your goals, this is not going to last forever. As you get more fit, you're going to increase it. Everything I just said, I'm not going to repeat it and bore you. All of this stuff is going to be going up, or you're going to be better at food logging. You're going to track more accurately, and it's going to turn into this. Be patient. And then all these ups and downs that you see here on these graphs, this is what a weight loss graph looks like. I'm sure you know that. I'm sure you felt that. These ups kind of sting, but I want you to take the sting out of it and think every time I step on the treadmill, it's wrong. It's either wrong low or it's wrong high. See this graph right here? This person right here, let's really zoom in on this, right here is false. That's a false weigh-in. Their real weight was probably right about here. This also was a false weigh-in. Their real weight was probably about here, right, in the middle. So this is extremely important to disconnect from these numbers. And they really are just data points that give you the graph. This is real. This person's losing. This person isn't, and this person will become this person if they continue to adjust the dial. So I think you can do this. I hope this system makes sense. I know it's big and it's a whole lot. Watch the video again if you need to, but this is going to help you. It's going to be game changing for you.